Looking back now will be seen as kind of a golden era of the rivalry. I think rivalry and hate in football is a good thing, and that period will be one of the best. So the £20 million game, it was a crazy way to end the season.
The £20 million game at the time was obviously mental, wasn't it? I think, Sky Sports billed it as that, we're both fighting for Champions League on the last day of the season.
Whoever won that game was going to qualify for next season's Champions League.
Everything's on the line.
Both teams were really up for it, and it had the feeling to a cup final.
We go a goal up, Sammy Hippier getting that header from a free kick, and I remember that going in and the feeling of just utter joy that we could actually do this in the £20 million game. And Despise, Chelsea's captain at the time, gets a header against us, back stick.
It's a wonderful header. He kind of jumps backwards to head the ball forwards, but the game will forever be remembered for one man. He wrote his name in Chelsea folklore that year, and his name was Jesper Gronkiar.
And then Jesper Gronkiar scores an unbelievable goal and he slots it into the bottom corner and you're thinking, that's it.
The ground erupted. The fans, the players, everybody was jubilant, and you could see that Liverpool were really deflated. And I think that was the beginning of the antipathy between Chelsea and Liverpool.
Little did I think back then that would be such a pivotal moment in Premier League history.
That was only the beginning of the glory. Over that summer, I remember waking up to headlines that Ken Bates had sold the club to a Russian oligarch.
6 weeks after that game, Roman Abramovich buys Chelsea Football Club.
Apparently Roman Abramovich was in London, he was looking for a club to buy. He had his heart set on Tottenham, apparently, but he wanted to buy a club that was in the Champions League. He therefore chose Chelsea, and a couple of years later we were winning back-to-back leagues.
It feels like we're almost at fault for turning Chelsea in part into the Premier League superpower that they've become.
The real rivalry, oh God, it was very intense over those years.
I think we played Chelsea 5 times that season.
I don't think any Premier League teams have ever played each other that amount.
2 of which were in the Champions League semi-final. 2 of those games were in the Premier League. It was like someone had just pressed a button on the rivalry.
They were intense, and the hatred and the antipathy and the volatility was palpable. It's actually hurting me to even have the conversation now, but the most deflated, the most upset, the most heartbroken I've ever been in a stadium was Anfield after Luis Garcia's ghost goal.
And it felt like at the time that Liverpool had and the cop had sucked that goal into the net, and it got under Mourinho's skin so much, and it was really great because it was like justification for us that we'd picked the right manager, the right man for Liverpool Football Club. It felt like the start of something special because Chelsea go on and win the league, Liverpool go on and win the Champions League. So it's now 2006, 2007.
And we then thought we had a chance to exact revenge the following year. We got them in the semi-finals again.
And it felt like destiny, it felt like we can do this again. And
it was happening again. Liverpool yet again won.
The winner goes in from Dirk Kuyt, and just the absolute feeling of we've got this, we've done this is our competition, it's what Liverpool are born for, this European Cup is what we're about.
I can remember I was pretty much the last person to leave Anfield that night. I sat in my seat, I remember the cop serenading me constantly, mocking me, laughing at me, and it was horrific.
Once again, we've managed to beat the sides with more at their disposal, more money, probably better players. And from there, it was like, we're going to continue to grow, we're going to continue to develop, we're going to continue to beat Chelsea.
Then it all turned.
The 2007-2008 semi-finals felt different.
And it's all down to the magnificence and the brilliance of the wonderful ginger Norwegian that is John Arne Riise. I will forever love him. I've never seen a celebration like it.
We were 1-0 up in that game, and the most bizarre own goal.
It all suddenly turned in the last minute. I can remember it so vividly. Toulouse got it, we weren't too sure what he was up to, and anyways, whipped this crossing.
John Arne Riise essentially bullet headers it into the top pin.
The silence is what alerted us to the goal.
And as soon as that went in, there was almost disbelief.
You could feel the cop. There was just this huge sigh, and the Chelsea fans erupted.
You're thinking that's advantage Chelsea.
It felt like a pivotal moment that the power shift had perhaps occurred.
I think we realised then that, having seen the growth of Chelsea and seen us be able to compete in those sort of two-legged affairs, that there might be a gulfing clash between the two clubs at the time. Steven Gerrard, 5th of July 2005. That date is horrible because there's another date 6 weeks prior to that, and that was the 25th of May 2005, where Liverpool lifted the European Cup for the 5th time, and Steven Gerrard hands in a transfer request. And I remember the feeling at the time of just pure disbelief. It was like, you know, we were starting to get text messages coming through, like Gerrard's handed in a transfer request. We were like, what? No, how has this happened?
I mean, there's not a football fan in the country in that period of time that wouldn't have been desperate to see Steven Gerrard in their club colours. Steven Gerrard's one of the most gifted football players I've ever seen. A
24-hour period where we genuinely thought that Steven Gerrard was going to go. You know, Liverpool fans around the city start ripping posters off walls, and, you know, shirts are starting to get burnt and stuff. And I think Steven realises the magnitude of the situation that he's got himself in, and realises that he loves this club more than ever. And I think it was Jamie Carragher that said, you know, Steven came round to the idea that winning one league title with Liverpool would be worth more than 3, 4, 5 with any other club.
You had lots of England managers and England pundits saying Lampard and Gerrard can't play together. You think, well, Mourinho broke his neck to sign Gerrard, so he obviously thought that he could make it work. And I think it's a shame that it never actually happened at club level.
But it was yet another thing that happened between Liverpool and Chelsea.
The Mourinho-Benitez beef.
You know, we had two different managers.
They arrived in England about 2 weeks apart, and then over the next 3 years, they played each other 15 times.
Benitez on one side, Mourinho on the other side, and Mourinho's this arrogant manager that is full of himself that I completely dislike. And then on the other side, we had this introverted tactician in Rafa Benitez, and they just seemed to clash from the off.
When you play each other that frequently, a real hostility can build, actual personal vendettas can build. I think that what happened with the managers actually set the tone. It was then replicated by the players, and it was also replicated by the fans. They hated Benitez before, they hated Benitez as Liverpool manager. He then came to Chelsea, won us a European Cup, qualified for the Champions League, and we still hated him.
You know, the fan base is chalk and cheese, the managers were chalk and cheese, the teams were chalk and cheese. Mourinho comes back in as the special one, and even that, you know, Benitez endeared himself to us, because when Mourinho was talking about being the special one, Benitez is talking about us fans being the special ones. You know, the rivalry continued, you know, the Mourinho-Benitez stuff continued and almost continues to this day.
Fernando Torres was a thorn in our side, and it will forever haunt me. The entire cop bouncing to his song about wearing the armband, and we then signed him.
The Torres to Chelsea thing broke my heart. Genuinely broke my heart. You know, hundreds and thousands and millions of Liverpool fans around the world fell in love with this guy with his blonde locks and his magic wand of a right foot. You know, 6 years I think it was after the Steven Gerrard to Chelsea stuff, Chelsea started coming in for another one of our better players, and Fernando Torres, and there was a disbelief that Liverpool have done this. You know, it was the last day of the transfer window where the £50 million deal goes through, and
as a scriptwriter, if you were to write this, it wouldn't feel believable.
It was just like, what? We've sold Fernando Torres?
His debut then was against Liverpool. His debut at Stamford Bridge was against Liverpool, and I can remember a good friend of mine who I used to go to football with was actually banned from football at this period. He came in with me. He was like, I can't miss this, Torres' debut. It was meant to be, I've got to be there. We lost. They beat us. And you know, I remember Jamie Carragher had Torres in his pocket. He went through the back of him a few times.
And I remember just a barnstorming tackle on him. It just filled me with so much joy.
It should have been a warning sign, really, because at the time it felt like we'd got one over on Liverpool. I think they felt like we'd got one over on them as well. They were heartbroken. Fans were outraged. I think they still see him as a villain. But they won, and they actually pulled our pants down, because Torres then went something like 900 minutes without scoring a goal. And, you know, you can make a case for Torres being a good signing for Chelsea. You can make a case, you know, he won a Champions League, he won Europa League, but he never ever reached the heights that we dreamed.
I don't know where to start with this one. 13-14 season, one of the best seasons of my Liverpool supporting lifetime.
So then it came to Denver Bar game. Liverpool were destined for the league.
Biggest heartbreak of my football fandom. Steven Gerrard slips to let Denver Bar in, and Chelsea kill off our title hopes.
I didn't go to this game and I will forever regret it because I was convinced Liverpool were going to win it. They were on fire. They had Superman himself playing up front for them that year, and it was going to happen, and it all went wrong.
Oh, it's still too fresh in the memory. The 2005 stuff, the 2007 stuff, it's in the past, but 13-14 season felt special. The feeling in the pit of your stomach that it's them, that it's our captain,